Born Primitive Outdoor is proud to partner with Montana Knife Company, Marsupial Gear, Evolution Outdoors, Sheep Feet, and Capture Gear. Thanks for tuning in, and thanks to our sponsors. Welcome back to the Born Primitive Outdoor podcast. Today I have a special guest. When I say special, this one's really out of the ordinary, and I wing most of these podcasts. I just grab whoever to do what I think might be a good podcast. And this is Eddie Boyer. You're from Oregon, correct?
I'm from Washington.
Washington, same thing basically.
Even worse, right?
Sorry, yeah, well, same. But we had conversed back and forth on social media, and Eddie has a unique and interesting story. He's actually, from what I understand, doing a film with Go Hunt. But Eddie, I'll let you kind of introduce yourself and tell everybody a little bit about your journey, which sounds pretty damn crazy.
Right on. Well, hey man, I appreciate you having me on here, and yeah, I've been a big fan of yours for quite some time. It's kind of crazy. So back in 2012, I went to prison, and I did go to prison in Oregon. I was down there like on vacation, and ended up getting wrapped up in a robbery charge. It was a marijuana deal gone wrong. So did that. I got Oregon has a thing called a Measure 11, which is a mandatory minimum sentencing. And so it was my first offense ever, first time being arrested. And it came with a mandatory 5 years, 10 months. So got arrested. And while I was in there, I went through like a welding apprenticeship and was going to school. Like, once I got to minimum, I started like, going to school, trying to get myself out of trouble and just stay under the radar. And an old guy in there, he was he was on the bunk next to me, because at minimum it's all like open bunks, not cells anymore. And so he was next to me, and he was an older guy, and he was a avid bow hunter, and he was in there for like his 10th DUI or something. And he kept talking to me about it, and I'm like, dude, I've never hunted before. Like, my family doesn't hunt. I don't have any background in it, nothing like that. And he's like, well, here's some magazines, take a look at them. And so I'm like, all right, and so I'm looking at them. I'm like, damn, man, this might be, something cool for me to do when I get out. Like, I need something that'll keep me out of trouble and give me something to focus on or do or whatever. And so I got out of prison in 2018. I was 28 years old, and none of my friends hunt at all.
Hold on, let's
family.
Rewind just a little bit, because for those who are not familiar with sentencing, mandatory minimums, good time, good behavior time, and everything else. So what you're saying, the mandatory minimum for what you did, the judge cannot go any less than that. You had, no matter what, 5 years, 6 months, did you say?
5 years, 10 months.
10 months. And you could not get out any earlier with that, with good time? Like, that is the sentence no matter how good you are?
Yeah, that's absolutely correct. So I could be the best inmate ever, and I'm still doing 5 years, 10 months.
And there's other sentencing, specifically, I think, in different states, where you could get 6 years, but could do 3 years, 6 months with good time, meaning they're taking time off every month. You're a good boy. Is that
exactly
okay?
Yep.
But you got fucked. And like your mandatory minimum. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I just wanted to.
I got fucked.
Get that out there from my understanding of the prison world. So you.
Yep. And
you weren't in like club fed. You were in full federal. Or state, or what kind of prison were you in?
So I was in state prison in Oregon. So like if I would have committed this crime in Washington, I probably would have ended up doing 2 years, 18 months, maybe something like that. But Oregon, I got fucked. So yeah, I was in state prison. I did time down there in I got sent to Two Rivers Correctional Institution, which is like way eastern Oregon, like Umatilla area over there, my parents were living in Portland area at the time, and then all the rest of my family and friends and everybody I knew was up in Washington. So yeah, I was out there. I was at a maximum.
Okay, sorry, I interrupted. So did you, with the crime that you had committed, did you have a weapon? Why was it so stringent? Because for a drug deal gone bad, especially for weed specifically in Oregon and Washington, that seems steep. Was there a weapon involved? Like, what the fuck happened with that?
Yeah. So I'll rewind to that. So what happened was I had a bunch of like kind of, bad weed, right? It was not very great. And I was just a young kid hurting for money. And I went down there. I was actually staying with my parents. It was me and my co-defendant, and staying with my parents down there, and went to meet up with this guy. I found him on Craigslist, right? So back in the day on Craigslist, like you could buy and sell weed on Craigslist very easily. Like there was always ads for it. People, I hate to say it, but I did it a million times before, right? It was just a thing that you could easily do. And so I met up with this guy, and he gets in the car, and I'm showing him the weed, whatever. He ends up not wanting it and starts like getting all fidgety and weird and stuff like that. And so I park, and he's like, all right, I'll take it, and starts getting all weird and like reaching for it kind of and getting weird. And that's when I just pulled out a gun, and I was like, give me your money and get out of my car. And like, it all just happened in the blink of an eye. Like, he was getting all fidgety and weird and reaching, and I wasn't planning on doing this. Like I legally had a gun at the time, and he got all fidgety, and I pulled it out and like took his money and drove off. And like, as I was driving away, my buddy is in the back seat. And he's like, dude, what the fuck, dude? And I'm like, dude, I don't even know what happened. I was like, I told him, like, I specifically remember saying, like, I almost like blacked out is what I told him. I was like, dude, I don't even remember doing it. And then like literally 5 minutes later, the cops got behind us, pulled us over, and I was booked right there.
So you had obviously the possession charge, the weapon, charge. What did they probably end up pinning you with 5 or 6? Were you stoned at the time as well, or drinking?
Oh yeah, I was all fucked up.
So how many?
Yeah.
Sorry, I fucking went down the wrong pipe with my drink. How many charges did they ring you up on?
So I got a lawyer. My grandma actually put up some money for me to get a lawyer, because initially I was indicted on robbery in the first degree, unlawful use of a firearm, and delivery of marijuana, a substantial amount, which with all 3 of those charges, they were saying like 15 to 16 years. And so a robbery in the first degree is 90 months, which is 7.5 years. So with paying 10 grand for a lawyer, I was able to, get some of that stuff knocked down to only have to do 5 years, 10 months. But yeah, initially I was looking at, like, they were telling me like 15 years. I'm like, dude, I've never been in trouble. Like, what the fuck,
I want to rewind a little bit again. Me being from Oregon, in a community where, this podcast is obviously about you, but I want to make sure people understand, like, when you're raised around, and I want you to interrupt me at any time, but when you're raised around marijuana, like the timber companies were doing bad, drugs was kind of the thing, weed is huge in Oregon and Washington. It's really not that uncommon like you were talking about. So a relatively normal, I say normal, what I would consider, a kid that's raised in and again, dive in at any time, middle to lower income family. I was raised the same way. One of my best friends in school was shot in the head from a drug deal gone bad. Dustin Childress was his name. That was a few years ago. Another buddy of mine, Aaron Ward, did some serious time. All good kids. Ward's moved his life around. I guess what I'm leading up to is you were probably wondering, hey, I'm a normal kid. Why the fuck am I going to prison for 8 years? And this was probably the first time you had been charged with a crime, I'm assuming.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. So, I actually had, right when I was 18, I got caught with like half a gram of weed, and I was like 3 blocks from my house, and we didn't get arrested that night, but they gave us a court date and we had to go do 1 day in jail. Right. So that was that was years and years before that was literally the only time I had ever been arrested. And like, I'm from a small town in Washington. It's called Maple Valley. It's by Enumclaw, like very, very small town, very logging town community and dirt work. Like those are the jobs. It's a blue collar area. So like, growing up, it was, you're partying, you're selling weed, you're doing all that kind of stuff. Me and some of my friends actually had gotten pretty messed up on painkillers, Oxycontin, and kind of had a rough go there for a few years. And then I ended up, catching that case and had a lot rougher few years than most. But it was messed up. And but that, exactly. Like I at the time, it's like, I'd never really been arrested for anything serious. I didn't know anybody who was going to prison. Like I'm the only one out of my friend group who went to prison. Like, and all my friends back in those days, we were all selling weed. We were all, doing drugs and different things like that, and just getting caught up in that lifestyle. And, it just, in those towns, it definitely happens. You're either, breaking your back doing, physical labor, or you're, selling pot and doing stuff like that. And, I definitely chose the wrong path. I mean, I always worked. I always had a job, and I was always doing dirt work. I did tree work for a lot of years. So I always worked. And then that's why I did the welding course when I was in prison, because I was like, well, this is going to be my saving grace when I get out. Like I know with my background, I know I'll always be able to weld somewhere. So that was my plan for that.
So, and again, I mean, how much time do you have? Because I know you had some stuff going on. You got an hour, I guess, hour and a half before you have to.
Oh yeah, I got plenty of time.
So, the one thing that I want to make, like, I was a little fuckhead kid, but not drug so much. I fought more and was just kind of a shithead in school. And I'm, same kind of community where you're from. All my friends kind of the same way. You either pretty much were a logger. You did road work for logging, something like that, maybe construction was kind of that was it, right? You actually had, when I was a kid, you had forestry classes. It was one of the classes in school to potentially become a logger, work for the Forest Service. But in those communities, I would say marijuana way before, years ago, was very prevalent. People grew it in the forest all the time. The Forest Service would go after grows and shit to try to, go in and cut them all down. And it was pretty much, I don't want to say normal, but would you agree that that's not abnormal? That you are probably more the rule than the exception, I guess. Meaning, were most of your friends probably smoking and selling weed at one time or another? Give the vibe.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Oh yeah, 100%. I mean, it was, I mean, I had a grow room in my house growing up. My dad grew weed growing up. Like my whole, my family came from California, and I got family all through Northern California that has major weed farm. Like,
dude, I packed Miracle-Gro around from when I was 6 years old in a bucket with my dad.
Right. Like
yeah.
That community breeds that kind of stuff, and it just always has. And I don't think it's ever going to go away. And that is exactly where and how I grew up was, very, like, my parents grew weed from when they were kids in California. And then the day my sister moved out of our house, I got an older sister, the day she moved out, my dad turned her whole room into a grow room, and we were growing weed. And, it was not uncommon to be going and looking for a cool river spot, or going to find and stumbling upon someone's weed plants out in the woods out here. Like, I mean, it was you could walk through the woods in the summertime around here, and you're going to find weed plants, or you're going to smell weed plants that are growing. Like, that's the community. That's how it is.
And I'm not making, I want to make sure I'm not taking I'm not making excuses for how you were raised or what. I'm just trying to paint a picture of, for people not raised in that community, may seem like, oh my God, but it's pretty normal. And when I say, like, sounds like you and I are the same, my dad grew weed from the time I don't ever remember him not smoking weed and drinking all day. And I remember setting up tripwires with M80s for the deer, the blacktails that would come in and eat all the buds off the plants. So I would go in and we'd set up tripwires to keep the deer out of there, big sheets of black plastic. Like, it was pretty fucking normal, right? And so when you're raised in that, you don't know any different. It's normal. And you always know, I guess, to a certain extent, of right and wrong. But when you're raised that way, and I've never smoked weed in my life personally. I've never tried it, never smoked cigarettes or anything else, but I know it's fucking crazy, right? I've done enough steroids to kill a small donkey in my younger days, but this is not abnormal. Pretty much everyone I knew, growing up, within reason, sounds like you're the same way. Parents grew weed, their friends, that's just normal. And so that kind of progressed, taking some pain pills, selling weed or whatever else to make money. And then for the most part, not in a lot of trouble. Boom, you get caught. Now I'm sure you're shitting your pants. What was the vibe with your parents, grandparents? Were they like, this little fuckhead kid? Were they like, oh, there's hope, let's help him out? What was the vibe in the family when you're, I don't say getting rung up, but whatever, getting your charges and figuring out you're in deep shit?
It wasn't shock, because, the lifestyle that I lived, I mean, I'm pretty sure, there was some shock, but at the end of the day, like, it kind of comes with it. Like, if you're doing that kind of stuff, like I was, and, it's the cops are on their way, sooner or later, if you're messing around in that kind of lifestyle, the cops are on their way. It's just a matter of when they pull your card. And, so it was pretty devastating, though. Me and my mom were extremely close, like best friends. She was she was a huge supporter of mine. And, so it was devastating to her, especially when, found out, hey, it's 6 years. And I mean, we didn't really have anybody that had gone to prison in our lives, or even in our circles anywhere. So, like, they just think automatically the worst, like, oh my God, like, his life's over. He's going to get killed in there. He's going to have to, all this crazy, things. And, I actually was able to, so I got arrested, and then I bailed out. I had a $1 million bail, and it's 10%. So 10%, so $100,000. Well, then they do another option for, people, and it's called close street supervision. So you have to wear an ankle monitor. You go take a piss test every week and do all these classes and stuff. And then they will drop your bail to $10,000. And if you turn yourself in on the day of sentencing, they get, depending on how long you're out for, they get a percentage of that back. So it ended up costing my grandma she put down $10,000, got $7,500 back when I turned myself in. So I got out for a few months to like, go to court and fight my case and find out what was going on. And, it was a rough few months there. I knew, because like my lawyer said, he's like, you're 100% going to prison for a minimum of 5 years. Like, he's like, we're going to do our best, but like, just know that you will be going to prison for 5 years. So, I stayed out long enough to go to my sister's wedding, and then I could have kept pushing it out, but I was like, you know what? I'm fucking 23 years old. Like,
get it over with.
Let's just go get this over with. I don't want to be wasting no more time and doing all this. So October 23rd was the day that I had to turn myself in. And I remember waking up that morning and just falling apart. Like it had been emotional and it had been a rough, obviously for, the whole time really. But like that morning I woke up and I'm just like, fuck, and so my mom, my grandma put up the money. My grandma gave my mom the money and she signed off on it. So if I would have ran, it would have put my mom into debt like $250,000. Like if I would have not turned myself in. So that was, not an option. I would never do that to my mom, no matter what. I was like, fuck it. I dug this grave. It's time for me to go fucking deal with it. And so, yeah, my parents drove me down to the courthouse and I made a couple phone calls to some people and hugged my mom and dad goodbye and, went on in there and fucking faced the music.
So once you, because I want to make so you go in, I'm assuming pretty rough for the first, what did it take you to get into I say the swing of things, but after a month, 2 weeks, like, were you like, okay, I'm going to make it and I'm going to come out of this better? Or were you fucked for the first year? Like, how'd that whole situation go?
Oh, it was, mine was exceptionally rough. So I get there and I get to intake, which is like the hub. So they send you to the hub, right? Like every state does it. You go to the hub and then they decide where you're going to real prison from there. Like in Oregon, it's Coffee Creek. That's still a prison, but nobody's there doing time. They're just there until they get shipped where they're going. So I'm there. Of course, I get in trouble there. So that ends up getting me sent to maximum security prison where in Eastern Oregon. So in Oregon, they have medium prisons and they have minimum prisons, but one prison it was built as a federal maximum security prison, but something happened with funding or whatever, so they ended up just turning it to a state prison. So I got shipped there and it was rough, and I get there and I'm there for about 3 weeks. And I got a visit with my sister, my best friend, Nick, who is still my best friend to this day, and a girl that I was, talking with or whatever. They all came and visited me, and they leave the visit. And mind you, I've been in prison now for like 3 weeks, maybe a month. And I get back to the unit, and I go out to the yard and I'm working out, and a couple guys out there come up to me and they're like, hey man, just so you know, the table. So in prison, if I'm sure but a lot of people don't know that it's very segregated, and it's not by, no matter, it doesn't matter what your choice is, you're just following what the rules are, so it's super segregated. So if you got good paperwork, which means you're in there for a robbery, a murder, a burglary, anything like that, you're considered a good dude. But if you're in there for, some weird sex crimes or a fucking chimo or something like that, then, obviously you're having a real bad time. And so I go out to the yard, and a couple guys are like, hey man, the table that you sit at for lunch and, do all your stuff at, there's 4 seats at the table. So when you get to prison, if you're a good dude, they give you a seat. Hey, you sit here, blah, blah, blah. Well, 2 child molesters were sitting out there playing chess on the table. And since I was the new guy and it was a table that I sat at, they're like, hey, you got to go make them leave. And so I'm like, all right. So I go over there and I sit down. I'm like, hey, you fuckers can't be here. And they're like, oh, well, we're not leaving. And I'm like, you have 3 seconds to leave. And they're like, well, we're not. And I'm like, okay. So I just stood up and just started swinging on both of them. And I'm on top of this dude, just wailing on him. The cops come, tell me to stop. I don't stop. They mace me. So I'm getting sprayed now, right? They get me off, cuff me. Now they take me to now they take me to the SHU, which is security housing unit, solitary confinement. They give me 180 days on the hole. So 6 straight months, solitary confinement. So now I've been in prison for a month and I'm doing 6 months in the hole. So that was a very rough start to my prison sentence there. So
once you got out of the hole, were you like, okay, I'm going to be like, did you learn, I guess? Were you like, okay, I'm going to be the model inmate here? Or were you like, I got 5. What was going on in your brain? Because I can only, I can't even imagine 6 months in solitary. So did you come out of that all fucked up or did you come out of that better?
I think I kind of came out of it better. It was probably good that I went super early to the hole. I still did get in trouble and, I did some things that, still weren't great. Got in tons of fights. That's just something that you can, no matter what, you're not going to avoid fights in prison. It's just not, it's not a thing that you can just avoid. I mean, you can, but it's going to be a bad time for you if you do, because then people are going to start taking advantage of you and stuff like that. So you got to really stand your ground in there on that type of stuff. And I got, my mom and sister and stuff, they kept me real plugged in with books and a lot of stuff. So I think I read probably in that 6 months, I probably read, well over 100 books easily. I just read all day. I worked out in my cell and I got out. For the most part, I stayed out of any real trouble. I got tattoos in there. I didn't get caught for, but got in fights, but I definitely had a different mentality, but it really took, my cellmate. So I got out of the hole, went to the unit, had a couple different cellmates, that I went through that, a couple of them weren't cool. One of them was all right. And then I got one guy, his name was Jeremy Lehman. And, he got arrested when he was 17 for a murder down in, Roseburg or something like that down there. And, so he was 17 and him and a couple of his buddies were going to rob a weed grower. Well, the guy was like this big old biker or something like that. And Jeremy ended up hitting him in the head with a shovel and killed the dude. And so he got a life sentence at 17. So when I met him, he was 39 or 38, something like that. And he was, in a gang in there and, was doing all that kind of stuff, but he was kind of on his way out of that. Like he was, trying to kind of do better, but it was really him that gave me a lot of real knowledge and really checked me and was like, he gave me the, dude, this is not you. You don't seem like the kid who is going to be in prison in a gang and doing all this kind of stuff and running around and listening to these guys. And he's like, that, I don't see that being you. He's like, that was me. I was 17. He's like, you got a good family out there. You got friends that come visit you. You still have people. He's like, so what are you going to do? You're going to sit in here and fuck them all off and just come out and be a dirtbag? Or are you going to, try to get your life together and understand that these people in here, they're not your friends. They don't give a fuck about you. They're going to send you on a mission to go do something that's going to get you in trouble. And when you go to the hole, they're not going to do nothing for you. So it was really him that really got me kind of on the path of all right, what do I got to do to get to minimum? Because once you get, if you get sentenced to 4 years or less, you're eligible to go to right to minimum. But if you have more time than 4 years, you go to medium. And then if you continue getting in trouble, you just never go to minimum. And I wanted to go to fire camp. I wanted to go be a firefighter. on the work crews. That's what I wanted to do. And, cause it's the most freedom. I mean, what, there's not much more badass thing to do than be a forest firefighter. Like, in my eyes, I was like, those are like the ultimate men, I was like, I want to do that. And, I didn't get to the fire camp. I went to a different prison. I ended up going on a fire camp, though. I wasn't a firefighter. I was just camp support. So, like, I cooked and cleaned up and stuff like that for not only the inmates, but for the real firefighters, that were there at the fire. So that was an awesome thing. But, yeah, it was Jeremy. So sorry, I'm getting all kind of, over the place, but he's the one who really kind of set me straight, gave me some knowledge and told me some things that I needed to hear. And, I got in fights and I ran a poker table in there, which is, against the rules. And I did some things like that. But for the most part, I tried to stay out of the way. I ended up going back to the hole twice for little things, which sometimes it's unavoidable to go, but things happen. So I finally stayed good enough. I got down to, so I was at maximum for a little over 2 years. And then I finally was eligible to go to minimum, and they shipped me to a minimum called Mill Creek, which did have a fire crew, but they also had, tons of other programs. And when I tell you this was a fucking shock, I'm at maximum security for 2 years, right? Like, I'm in serious lockdown. I'm around just the dirtiest killers and fucked up people. I get to this minimum. There's no fence. I get out of the van. They unhook me. I'm completely unshackled. And I go into this prison, and it's all bunks. I walk in. It smells like cigarettes in there. I'm like, oh, fuck yeah, this is awesome, right? Get in there. And people are playing poker. I go in the bathroom. There's guys in there smoking cigarettes. They're not allowed to, but it's so easy to bring it in that's just the thing. So I wasn't a huge cigarette smoker, but I chewed, and I still do. So getting chew was my immediate goal. And I got the minimum there. And then I did the fire camp once, and then I put in for the welding apprenticeship at a different minimum, and got shipped over there, and finished out my time at that minimum, San Am in Salem, and got out with a welding degree.
So you were on, what do they call that, OCI Hill or whatever the hell, in Salem. I can't. I'm from Oregon, so yeah, that's what I think we call that, OCI Hill.
There's OSCI. Oregon State Correctional Institution is right there, and then Oregon State Penitentiary, and then San Am is right across the street from OSCI, basically. But yeah, I think you're right. It is some we were on some hill, something like that.
Yeah, because I'm where I'm from is like 45 minutes from there, something towards the Cascades. So it's the only reason why I know.
Oh, gotcha.
That. But so you're about to get out. You did the welding program. So once you got out, obviously you had brought up Jeremy, the last guy that helped you get your shit together, the dude that bow hunted, talking to you about that. So were you thinking about just getting out, getting a job? Were you thinking about bow hunting? Like, what was going on in your mind, the last, single digit midget days before you were about to get out?
Oh man, it was there's just no, there's just no feeling like that feeling. Like, it's just the weirdest, most emotional, just, it's insane. You've got a plan, and then everything is changing so fast because emotions are just flying. And I had a few of my friends are union pipe fitters up here in Seattle. So my goal was, okay, I got my weld certs now. I'm hopefully get out and go be a pipe fitter with these guys and do that. Ended up not working out. For that, I got into the sheet metal union at the time, and then that's a whole other story. But I get out, and I'm like, okay, I definitely want some type of hobby to keep me grounded. That's something that's going to be good for me. Like I said, my buddy Todd in there, he's the old guy that was letting me read the bow hunter magazines, and then my sister got me a subscription, so she sent me some in. So I get out and I got what's called an interstate compact. So I was able to move back up to Washington to my sister's house. She's in Graham, kind of by Tacoma, but more out in the woods. So get back here, I'm living there, and I'm just trying to, I got to go see my parole officer every week. So with my sentence, I had 3 years of parole, basically. COVID ended up happening while I was on there, and it kind of not saved me, but like made my life a lot easier. I didn't have to go check in with my PO all the time. So that was cool. But I didn't know anything about bow hunting other than what I read in these magazines, right? Like, I mean, absolutely nothing. I never hunted. So there's a bow shop in Puyallup. It's a really great one. It's called Great Northwest Archery. The old owner's old dude named Doug, super cool guy, but he used to do archery lessons there. And so I got out in August of 2018. And so for my birthday, my sister got me a 2-hour lessons from this guy to go in there and go learn how to shoot a bow and all this kind of stuff. So I did that, and I was like, fuck, this is awesome. I think I could do this. And took me a while to save up some money. It wasn't until the following year that I got a bow. I got a Hoyt Torex from him, and just got into it. But leading up to it, like I said, I had nobody to teach me. I had nobody to show me anything about this. Like I had nothing except for, honestly, dude, your videos online and, a few other guys or whatever, but like, the videos that you put out and, answering guys' questions and doing all the things that you do that, a lot of people probably take for granted. Like, some people it really fucking made a huge impact on, and I'm one of those people, because like I said, I had nobody to show me the ropes. I had nothing. So like getting to watch your videos and learning all the different tricks, and not just about bow hunting, but gear and just being in the woods and doing this stuff. Like, so I appreciate it, man. 'Cause like, I'm sure you get hammered with questions all the time, and I'm sure people probably say stupid shit to you all the time and everything like that. But there are a lot of people out there that greatly appreciate what you do. So I am one of them. And, you really, so it was 2019. So I got out in 18 of August. So the following year in September, I was, past hunter's ed, did all that, got my bow. I was shooting my bow like 100 arrows a day at that time. I was like, every day when I get home from work, this is what I'm going to do. And I just did it for like 3 months, just every single day. And I hunted every day in September. I would get off work. I would take time off work. I would get, as soon as I got off work, I'd go to the woods, and at that time, I'm hunting, but I'm like just kind of fucking wandering around the woods, learning what to do, looking for things, just not knowing what I'm doing, just, learning. And I didn't get anything for early archery, and it was late season. I think it was the day after Thanksgiving. I went out to this area my buddy Bobby knew. So he lived up north, and he lived on like 3 acres, but it was butted up to some public land. There's like not a huge patch, but probably like 100 acres or so of some public land. And he's like, hey man, you can come up here and take the trail through my backyard and walk down there. I know there's some deer in there. And I'm like, all right, cool. And up there in that unit, it was any deer. So it's early in the morning. It's all foggy. I'm walking in, and I get on the main trail, and I'm walking in. I still got like, about a mile or so until I get to the spot. and I'm just fucking walking, and I look up, and sure enough, I see this deer, and I thought it was a doe. And so it's like 40 yards from me, and I'm like, shit. So I range it. It's like 41 yards. I'm like, all right, cool. Draw back, shoot it. It takes off running. I'm like, fuck. Like, seriously, dude, I fucking totally missed it. Like, what an idiot, you know? And I'm like, damn it. So I sit there and I wait for a little while. I'm like, you know, I was like, I shoot this distance every single day. I'm like, I think I got it, you know? I'm like, I'm pretty sure I did. And sure enough, I got up, you know, I kept walking up the trail. I gave it like an hour. You know, I walked up there, and there he is, piled off on the side of the trail, fucking little German Shepherd sized deer that I shot, you know, and it was awesome, man. I cried. You know, it was just a crazy thing, because I was like, you know, here I got out of prison, never doing anything like this, never, you know, done this. And I did this, you know, like, I put in the work. I came out here and I did this. Yeah, it's a tiny little fucking deer, but it was the greatest thing that I had really, you know, kind of achieved in a long time. And I call my buddy, and he's like, hey, I'll leave work right now, and I'll come help you, you know, do all of it. Cause he was a rifle hunter. So I go, you know, he comes up, and we get it gutted out, and I literally threw it over my shoulders and carried it back out of there, because it was so small, but got it to my truck, brought it to my buddy's garage, who I just moved out of my sister's house. So I was staying there at my buddy's house, and got it hung up in the garage, and literally just put on YouTube videos about how to, you know, hang it for X amount of days, and cut this and cut here, and these are the cuts you want, and all that kind of stuff. And got it packaged up. And that moment was the defining moment for me. Right then I knew, like, this is what I'm going to do for the rest of my life. I immediately, I think 3 weeks later, I went and bought, at that time, the Hoyt RX-5 just came out. Went and bought that. My fiance now, she was my girlfriend at the time. She gave me, you know, she was doing really well. She gave me some money, helped me buy that bow. I still have it, still the bow I shoot right now. And I just knew at that moment, I was like, this is what I'm doing forever. Like, I don't care if nobody else does it with me. I'll do it alone. I don't care. This is what I want to do. And yeah, since then, it's just been my fucking obsession. My, you know, it really helped me, because, you know, now, you know, rewind here a little bit. So 2018, I get out. Okay. Actually, I'm sorry. So it was 2020 when I shot that deer. My bad, not 2019. So 2018, I get out of prison in August. June or July of 2019, my mom gets diagnosed with stage 4 lung cancer. And so we all drive down to California, because they moved from Oregon down to Northern California at that time. A couple of my buddies, my buddy Nick, my buddy Evan, like my childhood best friends that are still my best friends, they flew down to California with us to help pack up my parents' house and drive U-Hauls back up to Washington so my mom could come stay at my sister's house. So we get her up here, and you know, we're all living at my sister's house together. It's fucking me, my sister, her husband, my dad, and my mom, because my mom and dad were, you know, didn't make the best decisions with money, and just a lot going on down there. My dad had gotten himself into some trouble pretty bad while I was in prison. So that affected a lot of things, but yeah, I got my mom up here, and COVID happened. I was in the sheet metal union at that time. So I got, they were trying to make me get the vaccine, and I was like, well, I'm not going to do it. And they're like, okay, well, you can't go to school, but you can work, but you can't go to school. So you won't get your raises and you won't progress. And I just told them, I was like, okay, well, fuck yourselves. I'll just go cut trees, and I'll just do that. And so ended up taking like 8 months off there, spending it with my mom and doing stuff like that. and she passed away July 27th of 2020. So, I got out of prison. 1 year later, we found out she had cancer. The following year, she died. And that fucked me up. She was literally like my best friend, and my fucking stupid decisions took 6 years of time away from her, So that was a tough pill to swallow and have to deal with, the guilt and shame of that. So that was a really tough time, but and she loved photography and she loved being in nature, and she had gotten sober while I was in prison. She still smoked pot, but like quit drinking, was just, doing good. She's the real reason that, really got me into the woods hiking. And cause when she was going through her cancer battle, I had no outlets other than being in the woods. So I would go hike, I would go take pictures, I would go just be in nature and do that. Just clear my mind and kind of, try to connect with her in ways like that. And then she passed away. And then, that following, she passed away in July. And then that following November, I shot my first deer, and it was on and going from there.
So with everything that's gone, on with your story, obviously kick in the ding ding, prison, another kick in the ding ding. By the way, that sucks, dude. I fucking hate that for you. I have that kind of relationship with my mom.
Terrible.
She dies. You're struggling through that, I would assume. How much and as it sounds like, bow hunting and the outdoors carry you through all of this? Was that the primary thing that kept you going?
Oh, 100%. Yeah. If it wasn't for, and a lot of people, like, there's guys that get on me on social media, or even people that I know that, say it's corny, fucking nature go, but, and it's like, okay, well, you didn't have to go through the things that I did, and you didn't, you're still fucking getting drunk every day, or, whatever you got going on. So you don't know what I had to go through and what I did. And yeah, man, just being in the woods and bow hunting, like, if it wasn't for those things, I don't know what I'd be doing, because it gave me that outlet of, I can either be, wallowing in my own pity and just, fucking up, or I can be out here, trying to connect with my mom, in some way, like, get a great picture. And she was always a huge, my big supporter. And, so being out there and finding just nailing a great picture, the feeling when you just fucking nail one and you're like, that kept me going. It kept me connected to her, and it kept me grounded and gave me a purpose. And then bow hunting, like, it takes discipline, and it takes, so much effort to do it at least halfway good, that, it's not something you can just fucking, pick up once a year and go, you're like, yeah, you can, I guess, but like, not for me. I'm not that type. So it gave me the structure of, hey, this is what you want to do. You have to put in the fucking work every single day. You can't just be some, pile of shit laying around all day and expect to, feed your family or do anything. And, then I moved over to Spokane, with my fiance over there, and we found out she was pregnant. And, so we got a place. We're living over in Spokane. At that point, I'm an iron worker, in Spokane. So I'm doing that, union iron worker over there. And I'm still bow hunting, but we are like struggling money wise, and she's pregnant. And then, that was, that year I shot a bear, my first bear. And, that bear, literally, dude, we were so fucking poor that to this day, my fiance won't eat bear meat, because it's literally the only protein we had. That's all we had was bear meat. So it saved us in a lot of different ways. Hunting, really helped me and saved me in a lot of different ways here.
So like right now, so with what I just chronologically, when you were, so that's what, 4 years ago you're talking about? Am I getting that right? When you killed the bear, how long ago was that?
When I killed the bear, it was 2023.
Okay, so
Yep. Yeah. So sorry, I kind of jumped way ahead there. So, in 2020, I shot that deer. And then the following year, I shot another little deer. And then, so that would have been 2021. So then, sorry, it was 2022 that I shot the bear. And that's when I ended up shooting a bear, and then I shot a giant whitetail over there. So I finally, got myself a good deer that year. So that was awesome too.
So what are you doing now?
Right now I'm off work. I'm on L&I. I'm an elevator constructor, or I was, but I'm off work now. I'm probably going to have to get neck surgery. I got hurt at work, so just been on L&I. And right now I've been really I got my daughter, she's a little over 2, and she's, been a huge saving to me, because I wasn't drinking heavily, but I kind of started drinking again and was just, not making the best decisions and kind of dicking around, and ended up just, being hungover one morning and looked at my daughter, and I'm just like, I cannot fucking do this to you anymore. I wasn't drinking every night being a dirtbag, but I was like, yeah, I want to do better. So stopped drinking then. But I'm, like I said, I'm on L&I right now, and I'm just, doing all the little things that I have to do with them. Trying to really kind of get more into photography. I finally bought my first actual real camera. I've always just shot on my phone. So got my first camera. So I'm trying to kind of get that going, and kind of get out of the, get out of the trades and start doing something that I actually enjoy and like to do.
So with everything that's gone on, and I don't want to skip too far ahead, but you're doing a video about your story with Go Hunt. What's going? I know you had mentioned that. What's going on with that?
It's with Onyx.
With Onyx, okay.
Yep. Yeah. So it's crazy. They were doing this thing, and it was tell us how Onyx, I think it was tell us how Onyx helped you, or, why it's important to you, or something like that. Right. They wanted a 30-second video of, what Onyx does for you or whatever. And, to kind of tell your story a little bit, and you could win $100 gift card to their, store or whatever, online store. So I'm like, fuck, cool. All right. Yeah, I could use $100, that'd be awesome. And, so I get on there and I tell on my video, and I kind of, in 60 seconds, I kind of try to give them a rundown of basically what I've given you, and kind of, told them hey, Onyx, that app really kind of especially a guy like me who, I don't have any, buddy that other than my one buddy, Bobby, who I'm not in contact with anymore, but, I didn't really have any areas to go hunt. I didn't really know the real rules and regulations on all of it. I did, but not, not fully, not like a guy who's been doing this for a long time. So I was just kind of telling them, hey, Onyx really kind of helped me with a lot of things here, finding areas that I can go and, showing me different spots and all the things that it does. And they emailed me back, and they're like, hey, this is kind of a whole different thing here. This is a bigger story.
Yeah, not the norm. Yeah.
Right. I'm like, oh, well, thumbs up. Awesome. Thanks. And they're like, no. we would like to schedule a call with you and, hear your story a little bit more. And I'm like, just kind of blown away. I'm like, what? I'm like, really? And they're like, yeah. And I'm like, awesome. Call me right now. Like, whenever you want, I'm ready. And they're like, okay, well, we'll schedule it out, and, so they called me and, I'm talking to, there's 3 people on the phone. I talked to them for like 2.5 hours, just kind of running down everything and, getting real in depth on, how Onyx like helped me with the bear and, all these different hunts and not even just hunts, but just, scouting, everything that it helps with. And, so they're like, hey, we're going to, talk to our, bigger bosses or whoever. And, we kind of want to, do something a little different here. This is definitely, bigger than what we thought. And, so I'm like, all right, yeah, whatever you guys want to do, not really, still not really thinking, it's that big or whatever. And then, they finally just, they got it all approved and everything like that. So they're coming to film me do a mule deer hunt, in September here in Washington. So they'll be the 1st through the 8th. They're going to be filming me and they're going to do it's kind of like a redemption story, I guess. They're going to come film at my house and, talk to like my sister and my fiance and stuff like that. And, kind of just go full circle with it, I guess. And then, I got a spot. I've never hunted mule deer before. It was just, they were asking me what I had planned hunting this year. And I'm like, I've never hunted mule deer and I hike a lot in those areas and it's just, beautiful country up there. I'm like, that's probably what I'm going to try to do this year is really focus on mule deer. And, they suggested wanting to come out and film me. And so I'm like, fuck dude, I would love that. Like I would be, absolutely, that would be great. And so yeah, they're coming out to do that in September and, I'm fucking so excited, but I'm so nervous about it.
Well, you were nervous about the podcast and you're crushing this. So hopefully that.
Oh, I was so nervous, dude. I mean,
I think I'd asked you, I was like, do you drink? Like maybe get a little fucked up.
Right. Could have helped a little bit, but no, yeah. I mean, this is you get it. You're, kid from a small town, like, and you've made, something really great for yourself. I'm a kid from a small town. So like me getting to talk to you, and that's why this is so crazy too, is like, it just goes to show that like, if you just fucking, you just do what's right, like just stay there. There's guys get hung up, because, especially guys with troubled past and stuff, they don't see the light, they don't see the way out, and they keep staying in that cycle because it's easier. And if there's anybody that is listening to this or that will be listening to this, like I was in prison for 6 fucking years. I got out and I found some random guy on YouTube named Aron Snyder, watched his videos, and now here I am talking to him. Like this is a huge moment for me. Like you helped me in so many ways, and now here I am getting to actually talk to you. Like instead of just watching your videos and I'm talking to you. Like I was nervous. I am nervous. This is huge for me. This doesn't just happen to, it doesn't happen to guys like me, so the opportunity that I'm getting to talk to you is fucking huge. And I hope like, I know you're busy. I know you have millions of things going on. So, for you to take the time out and, do this with me and talk to me and, even help get my story out there at all or anything, is huge to me, man. Like I fucking really appreciate it. It's a big deal to me. So thank you.
Yeah, no, of course, man. And I'm glad I could help. And I think, of course I say this in my mind, like, we all have demons and a past, and I was definitely raised a lot more like you. And I don't know how many people know my background, totally. But the thing is that I have found, and I was talking about this with a guy yesterday, is, I'm just a normal guy that was raised in a very small town. My dad drank and smoked way too much pot, and my mom was great. But you know, my parents, my dad probably made $1,400 a month with a family of 4. We didn't have a lot of money raising a mobile home, but hard work goes a long way in trying to do the right thing. And the thing that I try to do is really show like life in reality, because social media certainly is a bit false at times, you know what I mean, where you know,
just a bit, right?
Well, I mean, we're all fucked up in some way, so I just try to tell, whether it be my story or your story, you know, so people see like no one's perfect. I've got all kinds of problems myself, and you know, being raised the way that, you know, born and raised guys, Trent specifically is a good example. You know, Trent was falling trees until not that long ago.
Right.
You know, I mean, everyone has a past, and not that past is not always a good one. But I'm kind of tired of talking about actual just hunting stories, which people bitch because they want to hear more of. I really like doing podcasts with shit like this, because it's fucking life, right? It is how life works. And I don't know how close my mom could tell you I was going to prison a few different times, mostly from fighting and dumb shit like that. And I made it and somehow, you know, pulled my head out of my ass. But still, I don't have a background in business. I don't have a background in, you know, anything. I just try to, you know, I just try to do my thing and help people along the way. And so it's always good to hear. And I'm lucky I get great messages and comments all the time, you know, that I was able to help you in some way. But the biggest thing that I think people need to realize is I am a fucking flea's dick away from you. And I don't mean that in a good or bad way, but I mean, I was a fucking bad kid. I worked hard, but I did all kinds of dumb shit. And so the reality, if I did a podcast, and I don't want to say talked down to you, but if I did a podcast and pretended like I've got all the answers, I certainly fucking do not have the right answer. So it's always good to have someone like you with those stories, because it sounds like you're over the hump. You know what you need to do. You know what's making you happy, and you've got somewhat of a path ahead of you, whatever that path may be, but you know what you're wanting to try to do, and have straightened your shit up pretty good.
Right. Yep. And that's, you know, that's the thing is, you know, you know, a lot of people had told me, you know, hey, you know, you should, you know, tell your story and, you know, get it out there, because, you know, like it could help some people and stuff like that. But I was always kind of, you know, hesitant about it, and just being vulnerable to people out there, you know, and letting them know. And especially because, like, you know, there's a lot more to the story too, of like the things that went on in prison, that, you know, definitely, you know, will change a guy, and you know, really just kind of, you know, things that'll stick with you, or things you got to do and stuff like that. And I keep remembering back to, like, sorry, you know, letters that I would get from my sister, that, 'cause like my sister she was like my mom, right? Like, she was the one who she never was in trouble. She owns her own business right now. She does, bookkeeping for, you know, smaller construction companies, and she's fucking crushing it. And she would just be like, she never was like, she told me what I needed to hear, not what I wanted to hear. And I needed that, because she would tell me, hey, you know, I know you're in the hole for what you did, but I'm not disappointed in you, because I understand that there are things you're going to have to do in there. And, you know, good job on beating up a couple, you know, sex offenders. That's great. But, like, is this who you want to be? Because the decisions that you make, even in there, are going to follow you out here. And some of those decisions have followed me mentally, you know, like some of the things that, you know, I still struggle with. But, you know, at the end of the day, it's like, you know, no matter what your past is, or what you've done wrong, or what you're struggling with, like, there is a way out. Like, you can make it out if you just keep putting in the hard work. And it's like, you got to pick your hard, right? Like, being a lazy fucking bum is hard in its own ways, or, getting up and getting after it, or staying focused on your goals. It's hard at that moment, but the payoff later is bigger. So, if you're struggling, or if you feel like there's no way out, like, take it from me, guy who has literally been to the worst places in the world. There's nothing bad that you could go through that I haven't gone through. And I got a beautiful little daughter who is just the coolest fucking thing in the world and is everything to me. I got a great fiance. I got a, great life now. And I'm getting a chance to talk to Aron Snyder. I'm getting a chance to, do this stuff with Onyx. Like, if you just put your nose down and work, you can get there. And like you had brought up the Born and Raised guys, those are other guys that I watch their videos. And Trent, being a tree faller and doing all that, like, how fucking cool. Like, worked in the hardest, most dangerous, fucking gnarly job. I did tree work. I know guys that do tree, like, I know that background. And to see what he has now and what those guys do now, like, how fucking awesome of a story is that? Like, it doesn't, like, in my eyes, it doesn't get much better than hearing something like that. That guy started, doing that hard, dangerous job. And yeah, he still works his ass off, but like, he's getting to do what he loves. And people all the time always want to, like, they always try to say, like, oh, well, fucking, he got lucky with this, or he knows that. And it's like, okay, well, no, he didn't, dude. He fucking worked his ass off, just like you, just like, all these other people. So yeah, just, put your nose down and work, and don't worry about anyone else's success. Just fucking focus on yourself,
Yeah. And I think people have it's innate human nature to, luckily I've gotten rid of that in the last several years, where the one thing I've really focused on is, like, you can't change somebody's view of you. You can only change what you're doing, and maybe their view will change later. And you're a good example of that. Are people going to always look at you of, this guy's a fucking ex-convict, right? Or are they gonna be like, well, fuck, people make mistakes and he changed? And forgiveness is very hard for people. And when I say that, you have to love somebody for who they are, not who you want them to be, right? Not everyone's going to be perfect. And so, when you're learning, when you're picking your inner circle, your friends, it's like, I'm not looking for perfect people. I'm looking for the perfect friend. And they may be all fucked up, right? But
exactly.
Yeah. So, it is interesting. So how much do you think has the deck been stacked? I say stacked against you. You fucked up, but when you get out of prison, how much of a struggle has it been since then to get a job, or has it been fairly smooth? How's that gone?
God damn it. That's one thing that, like, I don't want to say it's been easy, right? Because it's not, and it definitely takes hard work, and it definitely, it's been a rough go, but, like, I hear a lot of guys that I think they use that as a scapegoat. Like, oh, well, I was in prison, I can't get a job. And it's like, okay, well, I'm an elevator constructor. I was a iron worker. Like, yeah, those are hard, physical, dangerous jobs. But, like, I don't know your trades background, but I did
commercial iron working in glass, so I did.
Okay, so
those, shower like, doors, entryways, all kinds of shit.
Right. So if you want to, the whole gimmick of, oh, well, I'm a felon, I can't get a job. It's like, I don't want to fucking hear that, dude, because you absolutely can, and you can go make $100,000 a year. You just got to wake up at fucking 4 a.m. and bust your ass all day and be tired and sore, but, like, that, guys use that as an excuse. Oh, I can't. Yes, you can, because I did.
I know you can. I worked with tons of felons. If you go to any job site and you're on there and there's iron workers there, I can guarantee you in one of the fucking raising gangs, there's multiple felons in there. Like, and they're out there working their ass off, making a bunch of money. And so it wasn't easy, but because it's hard work, but like, I didn't really have any roadblocks like that. Like I
if you wanted to work, you could find work.
Absolutely. And I think, you just gotta be, open to busting your ass every day and putting up with the job site. Like, how it is, talking shit, you're late, you're an idiot, like, you got to be okay with people talking shit to you and not come out of character and act a fool on the job site and get in trouble. Or, you just listen to what these guys are telling you and work hard and you can make it there,
So what do you think would have potentially changed this entire story? Meaning, like, I can't give the advice of my story like that's going to fucking happen, right? Like, it was blind shithouse luck that I ended up where I am, meaning the journey, right? I was in the military for a while, got out, did construction, and just one day was like, I'm going to make it in the industry, basically, and figured it out. But rewinding, so back in my younger days when you're going through school and acting like an idiot, and you can read tons of books on this and everybody has their opinions, whether it's on the right or left side, Democrat, Republic, whatever. What would have changed, do you think, your story? What would have kept you out of prison? Or do you think that was just, and fuck, this is hard. I don't sound like an asshole, right? But like, well, I mean, I'm speaking for you and me both. Would a different parts of the family change things? Would having a better mentor have changed things? Would a different system in school and gotten you into the trades, or maybe made you focused, or outdoor programs? Like, speaking from a guy that's been through some shit, like, tell me, what do you think would have made a biggest difference?
Oh, that one definitely, like, I mean, I think, I think my story was written for me to go to prison. I don't think that there would have been any way out, because I kind of idolized that lifestyle and really kind of, that was, for me, that was kind of the route. I think that it, regardless, that would have happened. But with that, like, I think, like, with school and stuff like that, schooling could have helped change things for me a little bit. I never was great in school because I just wanted to work. But like, there was no programs, you know what I mean? Like, it wasn't like, hey, here's a kid who, doesn't care about science and biology and, shit like that. Let's let him work on motors or do things. Like, our school didn't have anything like that. There was one shop class, but it was like an elective, and you had to be doing good in school to be able to get to it. So, like, I never got the opportunity because I wasn't a good student. So I never got the chance to do that, where if I would have gotten that chance to do that, I mean, it could have changed things for me, like, I mean, maybe not, but I also, like, it could have, I don't know, because I, obviously took the different route, but like, I didn't have those options. And I think if schools would, like, look at a kid individually and kind of see, like, okay, hey, this kid's probably gonna go to the trades. This kid's probably gonna go to the, go to college, stuff like that. Like, kind of break it up and give kids a chance to, do different things. I think that really could, make a big impact on some people. And I think I'm a huge advocate for the outdoors. I think that is they should implement that in schools and different things like that. Definitely. I think, there's got to be some type of nature classes or some type of things like that to get kids out there and, show them what it's like, show them the outdoors and let them fall in love with it at an earlier age, or let them see it for what it really is out there,
Yeah. And I think that, so when you, like with what, paralleling, I guess I would say what you're talking about, I think as far as destiny goes, like I was a shithead kid. And unless we talk about rewinding way back of maybe different decisions made before I was even, we're talking young, like, pre 10 years old, right?
Yep.
I think the difference I would say that would have been of huge help is maybe the programs. And I think agreeing with what you're saying is there was a lot of things I learned in school that I really didn't learn because I didn't give a shit about you, but you have to be there to get your degree. But in reality, I didn't listen to any of it. I just got by and I don't remember any, and it kind of killed time. Where looking at it, I would have been much better off to learn different trades, learn, honestly, a better job of how life works, meaning paying bills and how to keep this is stupid and we're going off the deep end here, but I didn't know how to be a
100%.
fucking adult, right? I still am not good at it, but
right.
I had to learn algebra and trigonometry. What for? I have fucking no idea. I'm not using it now.
Clue.
So,
right.
And I don't want teachers that are listening to this to scream. This is my opinion, or obviously, your opinion is. I really probably could have used a lot more help of how to be an adult and what day-to-day life was like and how to, function in a normal life, not in the life of when they're kind of dressing you up to go to college. And I'm not wording that very well, but.
Oh, absolutely, man. Like, I think that, before I went to prison, I never had credit, right? I didn't have credit until I got out of prison. My sister co-signed on a truck for me that I still drive right now. I never had credit. I still fucking hardly know how, like, buying a house. I don't really know how all that works. Like, there's so much stuff that they don't teach you. And I'm not trying to harp on schools because I get it. Like, if there are teachers listening, it isn't your fault. Like, there's a program in place that you guys have to follow. I understand that. So I'm not harping on you guys, but at the end of the day, like, that, and maybe things have changed now, I don't know, but when I was in school, you weren't learning how to fucking have credit. You weren't learning how to pay, do all these different things. And if you weren't lucky enough to have parents that did it, you're just fucked. And I wasn't lucky enough. Like, my parents filed for bankruptcy. They made terrible financial decisions, and, they were reckless. And my sister went the exact opposite way, and I went even worse than what they did. And, so thank God I have my sister because, she's been, she guided me a lot, and she still helps me to this day. And I still call her all the time to ask how this works or that, and, different things. So I think, if that kind of stuff was implemented more in school, training kids to be adults and function and do real life stuff and do that kind of things, I think I think the conversations would be a little bit different about this right now. But also, like, it's also kind of like with inmates in prison too, right? Like, and I'm not trying to, advocate for every inmate, because not every prisoner deserves certain things. But like, you got so they got tons of different programs in there, right? You could be an at some institutions. Sorry, I shouldn't say everyone, because not all of them are the same, but in a lot of institutions they have, electrical programs. They got the welding one. They got all sorts of different programs. Yeah, you got to stay good and get in there and do it, whatever, right? But like, you got a guy, so they only allow, let's say, 5 spots, right, for an electrician. So there's 5 spots. Okay, well, why is there a guy who's doing a life sentence having one of those spots? And the reason why is because the prison saves money, because now they have this guy who's doing life who will fix all their electrical in the prison for basically free, instead of having to pay a contractor to come in and do it. But at the end of the day, that's not helping people. Like, you got a guy who's never getting out of prison doing an electrical program, and he's holding up a spot of a guy who's going to be getting out in 3 years who could actually benefit from that program. So that kind of shit, like, and I get it. Like, there are some people in prison who are never going to change no matter what, and all of this. But at the end of the day, a huge percentage of those people in prison, they are coming out, and they are going to be your neighbor, and they are going to be your coworkers, and whatever they are doing. So wouldn't it make sense to try to train them in some type of trades or some type of things going on to, benefit them when they get out? Like, that's a whole another thing there, especially with the private prisons they're doing now, where it's just a fucking money grab, and an inmate is just a dollar sign to these people, and it's wild. Like, there's a lot they could be doing to help them. And my fiance, she actually works with she's a care navigator. She works with like parents and troubled youth and stuff like that. She's in recovery, and she's kicking ass, and so she helps parents and she helps kids get into different programs and make better decisions than we did at an earlier age, doing intervention with them. So that is awesome. And I love seeing programs like that, but I definitely wish there were more, for sure, more in the prison systems, and then also in schooling for younger kids, just different, not every kid is going to go to college. I mean, that's just how it goes. We need electricians. We need iron workers. We need those guys. So start giving kids options in school when they have to be there every day and learning that stuff. So when they graduate, it's not just, hey, I'll go get some, job fucking flipping burgers at McDonald's or doing whatever. It's like, no. Hey, I've already been doing this for a year or 2 years. Now I'm in to go make a real career. That could change somebody's life. It absolutely could have put me on a different course. I didn't have those options, and would I have taken advantage of it? At that time, honestly, probably not. I was a knucklehead, and I enjoyed doing what I was doing. But some people's rock bottoms are different. Some guy might get some kid might get a minor in possession of alcohol, and that changes his whole life. And now he's on the straight and narrow, and having a program in school, could help him get going on that path. Whereas me, I needed harder lessons. So it's not a perfect system. Doesn't work for everybody, but having better things in schools could absolutely help, a lot of people, I think. Yeah, I know I'm kind of going on and getting off topic there, but
no, I mean, it's a good conversation to have. And I only, me being the Peckerwood kid that I was, and then somewhat sort of kind of having my shit together now, I get that question asked a lot. And my mom would tell her friends with Peckerhead kids, like, don't give up. My son was a Peckerwood and he made it, right? Don't. But I think there's just certain things that help alter that course. In your case, prison, for
right.
me, I had some good people helping me out, and then the military straightened me right up a little bit, so that helped.
Right, that'll do it.
But
yep.
well, we've been on almost an hour and a half, and so I don't want to keep you, too much longer. But is there anything else that you want to cover? Any advice you want to give, or anything else before we hop off here?
Yeah, I just. I'm trying to, help get my story out there, and kind of help show people that, like, the outdoors and hunting and just different things like that, find some type of passion, right? And for me, it was the outdoors, but I want to show, like, no matter where you came from or what you've done in your past, just keep your nose down, man, and just work hard and stay focused on your goals. And just, like, I want to show people my story so they can see that, whatever you're going through in life, like, it can get better. You're one decision away from changing your life. You're one step into the woods from changing your life. You're one conversation with a cool person that can change your life. Like, so just stay focused and whatever you do, don't give up. Like, I'm always there for anybody. If anybody is struggling with something and they want to reach out, you can always get a hold of me and reach out to me.
Hello, everyone.
I'll always respond. Try to help anybody that I can, and give any type of advice. I don't have, I can't tell you all the right things to do, but I can tell you the wrong things to avoid doing. And just work hard, man, and just stay focused.
Gotcha. Well, no, that's good advice. And, dude, it's good to hear stories, like this. You always hear, I say always, but generally the bad ones come out far before the good ones. So, dude, I'm no homo, proud of what you've done and turning everything around. And, I'm glad I could have you on here to tell your story, and I'm sure it'll be very well received. So good on you for getting your head out of your ass. You and I can be the spokesman for dumb fucks from Oregon and Washington that are turning our lives around.
I hope so, man. And I appreciate you having me on here and talking with me, because like I said, you were a huge influence on me. And like you had said, no homo, but like, thanks, man, because like, it just taking those little time out of your day to fucking answer 500 questions on your Instagram, or, posting a little video about this or that. Like, some guys are, and this is, me personally, some guys need that little question answered, or need that little video because they're holding on for dear fucking life over here. And, having someone like you that knows this stuff and is, willing to help out just the random small guy, like, that kind of stuff is huge. And especially for me, like, it absolutely changed the course of my life. And people might say that, dramatic or, whatever, but like, it really did, dude. Like, you answering questions for me, or, putting out those videos and doing that stuff. And then now coming to, this, where I'm actually sitting here talking to you, like, those are things that really helped me. And so if anybody is listening and sees this, it's like, hey, I did it. It happened to me. I was in this fucked up position forever, making stupid decisions. And now here I am talking to Aron Snyder on his podcast. Like, I'm just a fucking guy from the woods, from a shitty little small town. And I'm now here talking to you, and you helped shape my journey here. You were a big part of it. So I can't thank you enough, man. And I know my family and stuff, they're appreciative of you helping guys and taking the time, because it really does mean a lot to us. So I appreciate it.
Yeah, no, I'm glad I could help, man. Well, you've got my, cell number. Obviously, call me whenever you want, even if you're just fucking bored. But I would say anybody listening, whether this be you're, doing a bunch of dumb shit, you're having trouble like with your mental health, like, always check on your buddy, number one, or even people that are kind of your buddy, but they're struggling. And then, never be afraid. I mean, I don't think on my deathbed I'm going to, be looking back saying, fuck, I helped too many people. So I'm always glad to hear people like saying, thanks or whatever. So, but yeah, dude, amazing story. Appreciate you hopping on. And where can people, look for you on social if you're cool with that? And then the video, where will that be kind of shown? Will that be on the Onyx YouTube page? And then we'll hop off here.
Yeah, I'm sure it'll be on the Onyx YouTube page. I'm sure it's probably going to be months and months out for that one. On Instagram, people can find me. It's my name on there is rags.to. Sorry, fuck that up. rags.to.ridges. So rags to ridges. And then I have a YouTube that I'm kind of working on, and the goal for that is to try to get a podcast going to like talk to people about what got them either into the woods or what it means to them, or just kind of like talk about like what we're talking about here. Like that's what I kind of want to do with that, and try to help people. The other thing I was going to say is like the mental health thing. I get it that like, being a guy, it's you got that pride, the ego, you don't want to reach out, you don't want to talk to guys. And that's why men are fucking dropping like flies in the country. So, don't be too proud to reach out and ask for help. And if you see somebody struggling, or you kind of know someone's going through a hard time, fucking check on them, dude. Like it's not that hard to just reach out to someone and say what's up, check in, see how things are going. Because, that text message, that phone call could literally save someone's life. So, you see a guy struggling, a buddy of yours, reach out, man, say what's up, tell him you love him, whatever you got to do, but don't let guys, men that are listening, you don't have to struggle in silence anymore. It's 2025. It's okay to fucking cry. It's okay to reach out to your buddy and ask for help. This stuff is okay now,
Yeah, no, I agree. And obviously, with the page and helping people out, like I can say, not in a bragging way or whatever, but I have certainly talked people off the ledge and suicide. And that's always something on the forefront of my mind of, like you said, reach out, a buddy check. Like, men are the worst at asking for help. So don't wait for somebody to ask you for help. Just help them. But yeah, dude, man, this has been a way better podcast than I thought it would be. I didn't know if you were going to choke your ass off or what, but you did good.
Well, I appreciate it, man. Yeah, I was nervous. I definitely was, I was nervous, but I'm glad I got to talk to you, man. And thanks again. And I hope we can stay in touch and maybe our paths will meet down the road and we'll meet in person sometime. That'd be awesome. So
yeah, hell yeah, for sure. All right, we're right on. I appreciate everybody tuning in. I appreciate you hopping on the podcast, and we may link up with one of these, do another one next year after your season, dude. But yeah, good on you for turning shit around, and thanks for hopping on.
Awesome, man. I appreciate you. Take care.
All right, man. Take it easy.
All right, bye.